Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining us. We're going to go ahead and get started. If you haven't signed in, go ahead and take a minute to scan the QR code or use that link to sign in and let us know for which students you are registering. Excellent, I can fix that. Give me 1 second. Okay, if you tried it earlier, go ahead and refresh and try it now. You should be able to click in and sign in. We have some people streaming in and joining us, so same goes for you guys at home. If you could just click on that QR code, it'll take you to our sign-in. That would be great if your teachers want to know which students came, that would help them. Okay, it looks like most of us have had a chance to sign in, so we'll go ahead and get started. I apologize for that delay. Thank you for letting me know. My name is Erin Thibodeau, and I'm an assistant principal here at the high school, and I am in charge of working with our advanced academics, which includes our AP courses. If you were here a couple weeks ago for our advanced orientation, you may wonder what is the difference between what we talked about a couple of weeks ago with our freshman and sophomore classes versus this AP meeting. And so we're going to talk a little bit about those differences today. With me is Mrs. Sharon Jones, and she is the counselor in charge of AP curriculum. AP stands for Advanced Placement, and it is a College Board program. What that means is these classes are offered at the college level in their curriculum. Our teachers submit their syllabus and their course content to the College Board for approval, and once they go through a course audit and are approved, their content can earn your students college credit. So they're actually getting credit for their high school requirements, as well as getting a chance to earn that credit toward their college. There are some questions sometimes between what's the difference between AP and dual credit. Dual credit courses also give your student an opportunity to earn credit for both high school and college. The major difference is our dual credit classes are offered through teachers who come to our campus from Blinn College. Additionally, those classes transfer locally, and when I say locally, I mean to Texas schools. AP courses offer your student a chance to earn credit that can be transferred nationally and internationally. So there's the big difference, though, is that with the dual credit courses, your students are earning credit as long as they pass and complete the class. With the AP courses, they are passing throughout the grading periods with their teacher here on campus, but at the end, there is an exam that is put out by College Board that they need to score well on in order to gain credit. The scores for those are 1 through 5. A student who earns a 3 is considered passing, but different schools accept different scores for different subject areas. So whether or not that credit will transfer will depend on both where your student would like to attend and in what subject area. So if they are majoring in art and they make a 3 on the physics exam, their school may accept that credit because it may not be applicable to the degree they're earning in such high importance that they need to have a 4 or a 5. Other schools may require a 4 or a 5, depending on both their selection process and the degree in which your student is working. But Ms. Jones can answer more of those questions. Tonight, she's also going to focus on what our process is for taking those tests, registering for those tests, deadlines for those tests, and how your students might be able to start preparing for those tests. Additionally, we have with us a senior student who is a veteran at AP exams and classes.
And excels at them.
Yes, she is an AP Scholar, which is a distinction that very few students across the country earn, which means she's earned a 5 on 5 AP tests. So she scored at the top of all of those different exams, and you'll see, or you may have noticed through the registration process, we offer several AP exams. So depending on what level your student is, as a freshman through senior, there are different courses available to them, beginning with an AP Human their freshman year. They can take multiple courses throughout. Some of your students may do AP and dual credit courses. So those are all options, and tonight Mrs. Jones is just going to give you an overview. The AP practices changed in 2019, 2020, so the College Board put together a presentation for us to share last year, and she did that, and because it is continuing, we had one of the strangest years ever in 2020 at the end of the school year, and College Board was one of the few things that continued to hold their tests, and those tests were performed virtually, and so we had a whole new experience then. So this is sort of take 2 on what they hoped to do in 2019, 2020, and we're going to see what it looks like this year, but she'll talk about some of those details. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Jones, and then there will be a slight delay while I switch over to her presentation for our guests who are streaming live. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening. How are you? Can everybody hear me? Yes? Okay, good. The process is really very simple. One of the things that College Board has done is change the registration from the spring to the fall. They feel that because the kids' confidence is higher during the fall semester, it'll make them that much more confident to do well on their coursework, and thus they went to a registration in the fall. During the school year, the students have an opportunity to use College Board resources that are at their disposal via their class that they're taking. For instance, the students can take, say for instance, they're taking a calculus class. Well, that calculus teacher can assign schoolwork, homework, classwork, possibly a pre-test or a post-test, just to gauge to see where they are. And all of those things are online via the College Board. There's also some study guides and some practice questions that the kids can do online on their own. So the College Board has just put all that together, and I think that's one of the first slides first or second slides, but they have, they've put those resources online and available to them. The teachers can check on them to see where they are. The students can also check to see where they are. While they're in class, the teacher gives them a class code. That class code gives them access to all of those resources online. Once they access those class codes and they register in their class, it automatically registers them for the test. And then my job is to check to see who is paid for their test and who has not. And the deadline for that is October the 30th. And then I have a few days after that to compile the registrations that have happened through Mrs. Landers in the front office. She takes AP money for me. And then once I have that list from her, I go into the College Board website and click the no's for the students who have not paid for their test. Let's see, what else? Go ahead and do that. And again, like I said, they feel like students are going to do much better if they register in the fall than if they register in the spring. They did a whole study on this. At the beginning of the year, kids were really, and this is back in the day, you know, before we registered when we registered in the spring, kids' confidence kind of wanes. But when they did this, and it's 2 slides down. Go ahead and move it 2 slides down. When we moved to the fall semester, go ahead and push it, that one. When we went to fall registration, when they did the pilot study for 2 years and they gathered information across the nation, they figured out that students were doing much better on their AP exams by registering in the fall. That's out of the way and they're not thinking about it and they're focusing on their classwork. I saw a little bit of that with our scores, even though last year was a very weird year and their tests at home. And they had maybe 1 question or 2 questions, and that determined whether they get for their score for that AP class. I think we had more passing last year than we had the year before. The number of tests about the same, but we had more 3s, more 4s, a couple of more 5s. 5s are usually very here and there, but the 3s and 4s are very prevalent in Brenham High School. We do get quite a few. But that is very, very, very telling, is that fall registration will help them to take the test. Now, go ahead and slide that over to just some interesting feedback from a teacher who teaches AP. We have 16 subjects that we teach at Brenham High School. From AP Calculus, we have 2 computer science classes that we teach that are AP level. History, we have 5 courses in AP History. The Human Geography, the World History, U.S., Government Economics, and European History. Challenge a test. If they took World History but they didn't take the World History Advanced, but they feel confident enough to take that test, they can take the test. Or if they feel confident enough to take, they took pre-AP chemistry and they feel like they have enough background in chemistry and they want to challenge the test, they can challenge the test. They have to pay for the test, but a student can take a test without having taken the course. So that's kind of another difference between dual credit and AP. Not very many kids challenge the test, but it is something that you can do. Questions so far? Again, the resources are in the classroom. You can actually look at the resources yourself. There is a page on AP Central. If you will go to AP Central, there's a spot there for parents. You can sit there and pull information from there about the AP program and what things you can do as a parent to help your child be successful on these tests. Last year and the year before, we were involved in that fee pilot is no longer with us. Now is $95 per test. And if your student is on free or reduced lunch, then they pay $21 per test. The College Board kicks in a fee reduction, and the state does as well. So it allows students who are not socioeconomically disadvantaged to be able to still take the test and get those college credits. If I receive a registration for a test, say your child says no up until October 30th, and November 5th, they decide, well, yeah, I really want to take the test, it's going to be an additional, after November 13th, there's an additional $40 fee. So 95 plus 40. But if they change their mind, used to be last year and any year prior to, they charged the students $40 for changing their mind and deciding not to take the test. So we would only reimburse the parent $94, $50. This year they decided, as part of that COVID, we're going to relax some things. If they change their mind, then you will not be charged that $40. Okay. And I think they're going to go ahead with testing this spring. And we will be testing the regular way in a classroom, or 50 kids in a gym with masks on, sanitizing tables, whatever we have to do, separating them 6 feet apart. But we will be testing in the spring. It's May the 4th through the 15th are the dates. So and I'm going to put those on the website real big, so don't plan vacations or outings those weeks. Going out of town, going out of the country, going out whatever, because there is some late testing. I've had to do those before, where a student is involved in track and maybe they're running in the state meet. That is an acceptable excuse. We will give you a late test, but you pay the $40 for the late test as well. Any questions? Yes, automatically registered by being enrolled in the class. It's when they pay their fee or don't pay their fee, that I go in there and check no or yes. And whether they're free or, if they have a reduced fee, I can go in there and check that too. And all of that I do for my end of it. Any questions you have, you certainly can call me here at school if you have a question or you have a doubt, or the teachers are the best gauge for that. They know how the children are performing in class and what they see. So they're the best judge of whether or not your child should, if they're thinking about dropping the class or dropping the test, rather. They're the better judge. Leona, I'm going to call you up here. Are there any questions about the registration process? Once the test comes in, they'll come in, and they take the test, I send them back to the College Board, and the students will get their scores in July. It's better, and we've asked them while they're here at school, to create their accounts with College Board with an email that is not linked to school. Reason being, when they get to be seniors and it's July, sometimes the district takes their email accounts and cuts them off. They don't have access anymore. And if they don't have access to their email, they don't have access to their scores. So we ask them to create an email account that is outside of school as part of signing up for their College Board accounts. I would ask you to check with your children and to have them tell you what their College Board account is, their sign-in, and what their password is, because they will forget. By July, it's like, it's out the window, and they won't remember. Once school's out, they forget a lot of things. So just make sure that you ask them to give it to you. If you don't have any questions, I'm going to ask Leona to come up here and give you a little bit of her experience with the AP program. And come on up, it's all yours. And you may think of some questions while she's speaking, so.
Good evening, parents, students here in the auditorium, and everyone joining us on the live stream. Thank you so much for that introduction, Ms. Thibodeau. So, since my freshman year, AP has been part of my schedule. As I read through the syllabus for AP Human Geography, the expectations for me sunk in. These classes are not at all light. They are college-level academics. The rigor is cranked up to 11. High school students are meant to struggle and stress, but these are building blocks for success. AP classes challenge students to give them a sturdy foundation for college. If it weren't for my previous AP classes, I would not have had the reading skills to comprehend and analyze the academic writings I was assigned during my Harvard pre-college summer program. Along with AP, BHS also offers dual credit classes through Blinn. However, I have not personally taken these classes. I choose AP because passing the exams will grant me 3 hours of college credit in most universities across the country. Also, AP is internationally recognized. The exams are the heart of AP classes. I have been fortunate to experience both in-person and remote testing. Spoiler alert, I advocate for a 3-hour in-person exam versus a 45-minute remote exam. During a typical year, I felt prepared and calm on exam day. I was surrounded by my peers, and we were going to go through this together. During last school year's testing, I was very nervous. As the timer counted down, I was constantly reminded of how I needed to prove my understanding of a college course in less than an hour. Either way, I'm thankful for the opportunity to earn college credit at a significantly lower price because AP scores are college accredited. Overall, AP has been integral to my success as a student and ultimately to my enjoyment as a lifelong learner.
Thank you, Leona. I also wanted to kind of give you a little heads up. This is what the page looks like for the AP Central web page. And as I said, this allows the teachers and the students to actually go in there and look and see how they're doing. They can, they can assign the lessons, and it allows them to register for their exams. And that's what they did in the first couple of weeks of school. I gave the teachers their codes, and they gave them to the students, and they signed up. But there's also, let's see, that's the same slide, isn't it? Yeah. This is what they got. In 2020, they signed up for the AP classes at school. They visited apstudentcollegeboard.org and to learn more about the courses and the exams. They create their accounts. During the school year, it says first week of class, teachers give them the codes, which I just talked about. Around September, October, this is where they're going to start completing their registrations, October 30th being the deadline. And in March, I submit any changes, anything that they decide. If they decide they don't want to take the test, I need to know before March 1st. So if you sign up and then, no, we're not going to do it, then I need to know. They need to listen to announcements and keep track with their teachers. And if you want to look at the resources, that's where to go, is the AP Central for more information. And as I said, they have a section for parents. And if you've got any more students coming up behind the one you've got in AP classes right now, it's good to, the more knowledge you have, the better off you're going to be looking ahead. Human Geography, 9th grade, World History is 10th grade, and those are the only classes for those 2 grade levels. But you get into the Principles of Computer Science Principles is the other one in 9th grade, 9 or 10. But then the others are 11th and 12th grade, and that's where they really load up. I had one young lady I think she took 6 exams one year. Because she had an English, she had 2 math classes, she took a computer science class, and she took a science class. I mean, she had a bunch of classes on there, and she scored well on all of them. So it just depends on how dedicated and how, $95 sounds like a lot for a test, but it's not a lot when you take those 3 hours and apply those to college tuition and the room and the fees and all that you have to pay in college. They can leave here with, a good 15, 24 hours of college credit before they leave high school. So it's a good thing to have. Any questions? No? I know. Parents are thinking. What do I ask her? Yes.
If your child has taken PSAT 2 years in a row and she's a junior, is it time for SAT?
No, the PSAT, the junior year, is the National Merit Qualifying Test. They practice in the 9th and 10th grade, and then the one in the junior year is for National Merit Qualifying. That's where, if they do well, there's possibly scholarships attached to it. There are special programs that universities will invite them to, but they have to be a junior in order to have those things take place. So the junior year is the really important one to have. And that's coming up on October 14th. That's the other program I work with. They're supposed to, the deadline is tomorrow. They have been announcing it every day since the 1st of September. So we're probably going to give them a grace period of a couple of days, but just kind of pass the word around if you know junior parents. And especially the junior parents, it's $17. $17. Yeah, they went up on that one too. In the counseling office, yes. Or if you wanted to give me a check tonight, put your child's name in the little memo, yes. And for those of you listening in at home, yes, tomorrow is the deadline for PSAT, but again, we'll probably take money until Tuesday, because that usually happens. That's why I make Fridays deadlines. And it is an important test. And with that one, we only order a certain number of tests. I only order 200. So it's going to be the first 200 that show up to pay for it. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
So you said they changed it to the fall as opposed to the spring because the children get...
The College Board did a study, and they found that the kids do better on the test if they register in the fall and get it out of the way.
So what's because it's a hard test, or why
Because
why is it hard for the kids to commit to it in the spring?
I don't know. I really don't know, because I think they get busy with prom and they get busy with other things that are springtime related, and that way, once they've committed to the test, they tend to do better as far as plugging in there and getting it done.
And they don't have to take the test.
No, they don't.
I think that is the heart of your answer. Students knew going into it that the test was at the end, but they didn't have to. So with the prior way it was done in the spring, they also had to register in the spring. So what College Board did last year is by enrolling in the class, you're automatically registered for the test. And then they went ahead and made the payment happen in the fall, so students felt committed. Because at the beginning of the year, ideally, everyone goes into it with the game plan, I'm going to walk out of this with college credit. But what happens is if the registration process is in the spring and they get busy and it's one more thing they have to do, and they start getting crunched, they think, oh, well, I'm too stressed, I'm not going to register. They don't register and they don't even take a chance on it.
Well, and the other part too is that SATs for juniors and seniors, really juniors, are busy looking at SATs for the spring as well. So that was another reason why.
College
is-
Board is also the company that does the SAT
SAT.
exam and the PSAT exam.
So,
Leona, did you have any comments about the commitment level that comes with registering in the fall versus in the spring, since you've been around long enough to have done both?
Well, for the spring, it's more of like when we get to the point where you're at the spring level, it's like, oh, we've gone through all of this content. I don't know if I'm going to remember everything I did in the fall. And it's more stress building up, and you just keep doubting yourself. So students tend to not commit to tests that they haven't registered for.
did that make sense? Yes. Okay. It's easier from their perspective. I'm not taking the test.
Right.
Thank you, Leona. Appreciate that. Any other questions? Does Mr. Chandler want to come down?
Mr. Chandler, did you have anything that you wanted to add? The rigor is always a question that we get from parents and students. The rigor is challenging. It's
Yes.
meant to be. The students are
Stressed?
living the high school life and doing college level work. That comes with it, but we encourage you to support your students to do their best and not give up on it. Additionally, understand that an A in these classes is a significant achievement. It's not the same as getting an A in
In a regular
a
class?
regular level class on a 4-point scale, or an elective that they have lots of fun in and maybe don't have the same level of coursework to complete. That being said, if they make a B, they're doing a phenomenal job. So their expectations need to be realistic and know that what they're getting in the way of content is going to be beneficial to them, even if what they see numerically is not what they're used to. And that pans out in the spring when they get that score on that test and they walk away with credit for both their high school and their college courses.
And that goes especially true for freshmen. When they come in and they sign up for that human geography class, and they're used to making A's with little or no effort at junior high. And then they come here and they're having to work for their grades. And they're working a lot. I had a parent call me this afternoon and said, my child comes home at 4 o'clock, she gets busy, and she's working till 11:30 and she's not taking a break. I think you need to be aware that, yeah, they're going to have this kind of workload, but encourage those breaks and make them get up and have dinner, make them get up and take a 15-minute break. It's all going to be there. Yes?
So, like, Ms. Thibodeau, what you just said, do the kids know this? Like, has this been explained to them in that way? Because I feel like
Yeah.
my daughter came home, and I understand that she's 14, so there's some loss of translation. But in her eyes, I feel like all it's just a college credit. It's just a college
Now,
credit. What she's working for is just
right. I actually go down to the,
what you just said, though.
yeah. I actually go down to the junior high and explain it just like that. And they have questions and I answer their questions. And it was kind of interesting because this last year when I went down there, I didn't have as many kids say, hey, I'm going to sign up for that. And they did. It happened later. I don't know if it's because their friends signed up. They have a tendency to do that. But it was explained exactly like that, that it is rigorous, that it is challenging. It's a lot of homework. I mean, I try to give it to them in the words they understand. You know, lots of homework, lots of reading, lots of writing. And yeah, they got that information.
And that's a key point to make with parents, though, is that if your student is doing the work and they're coming home with a B, or I'll tell you, I've got I have a freshman that's sitting in that AP class as well. And hope she doesn't mind, I'm gonna tell her grade, but her teachers text me and she's like, you need a bright spot in your day? Ask Lily what she got on her test. And I'm like, Lily, what'd you get on your test? And she said a 79. I was like, oh, she said you did awesome, so I'm guessing that's awesome. It doesn't sound awesome, but in her teacher's eyes, that was phenomenal. So, and when it'll all come out in the wash, but if I can ask her about what's going on, and she's able to tell me about different things that are happening in geography and about family sizes, being able to tell you what their economic status in this country is based on how many children are in these families, she's getting something, and she's going to be able to apply that, the reading and the note-taking that she's doing. We've had to go through some revisions, so I encourage you to do that with your students as well. If they're coming home at 4 o'clock and they're working till 11:30, sit with them. I had to do that with my own child and observe. I had to observe for 2 days and say, well, let's look at how many times you're picking up your phone. And it's just a text message, but you're taking 3-4 minutes to reply and then putting it back down. How many of those little interruptions are slowing you down? And ironically, a lot of those were friends going, hey, what's due today? Hey, did you do the AP homework yet? Did you look at slide 4? What does she mean by? And they are on point. But what I encouraged her to do is maybe you guys need to have a session where you come on together and you ask some questions with each other and then you turn it off, because this was slowing her down. Other things were the notes are coming through some classes in a flipped manner. So they're getting some of their lecture pieces at home and they're taking notes. If you're sitting in a classroom and you are with a teacher, you're going to do the best you can. You're going to hit the highlights as you take notes, because that's a skill that you learn and develop. At home, they're able to push pause and write word for word everything that's being said, and they're pushing play, and they're backing up. That's not effective, and it's not what's meant to be done. Those slides and those notes aren't going away. What they need the skill in doing is taking the high points. Do you really need to write Bible belt if you know that this area is, do you need to write a description about it and word for word what was on the slide when the word Bible is in the title and you can guess that it has to do with religion? So it took some sessions of me sitting with her, and we got her workload down. Yesterday was our record. We were done by 9:30, and she has volleyball after school, so she doesn't start till 5:30. That's still a lot, but it is becoming more manageable with us paying attention to what you need to do differently. Asking them about what's coming up for the week. So last weekend was a weekend of no homework because we had tests in all these classes, so there's no new content yet. But didn't you ask me to order a book that you need for Monday? Well, yes. What do you think is going to happen with that book Monday? You think you're going to have to read it? Well, yes. Well, why don't we read this weekend? Why don't you try reading some of that so that when the week comes, and sure enough, Monday she said, well, guess what we have to do, Mom? I said, read? And she said, but we also have to annotate. I didn't annotate, but it went faster because you'd already read it. So things like that you can do, and I know that you're all busy and it's hard to take that time, but talking through with them, what are you doing and what can we tweak to help with the time management versus let's bail right away, because the struggle is good for them. The struggle and figuring out how they learn is good for them. Even if they don't walk away and take that test in the spring, or they take the test and don't get the score that they hoped for.
The skills are there.
What they've learned about how they learn, even if it's not content specifically, it's valuable for them. And if they want out, please make them talk to their teacher first. Because I've had several students grab me in the hallway and say, oh my gosh, I can't take it. I just bombed that test. This is so hard. I don't know what's going on. And when I talk to the teacher about that student, they're like, oh yeah, she's doing great. She's better. But again, same with the teacher thought a 79 was great for what she gave them. And she knew that. And that's something else that the students need to know. The teachers know how difficult it is, and they're going to look at their performance and they're grading them the same way College Board did in the spring. Their thought process and their effort was what the test was based on. Each test, literally, none of them had more than 2 questions. So they were grading how well the students could communicate their thoughts on whatever the questions were asked. And one question may have actually 5 or 6, more than what they could actually explain in that 45-minute time period, but they were graded on their thought process and how they could reason. So those skills that it takes them to get through this coursework are even more valuable than the content itself in many cases.
And they're not going to bail until I get an answer. Hopefully, this happens in all grade levels, but I've not had many human geography kids bail yet. And I figure I'm waiting till end of the 6 weeks tomorrow to find out. But I usually encourage them to go home and talk to you before they leave a class, because as a 9th grade counselor, I require a note from you saying it's okay, or an email from you saying it's okay.
Because you can't go backwards. They can't go back up. And
So,
students who didn't start there are not going to be allowed to enter. So make sure that it's an informed decision and you've talked with the teacher as well.
yeah, do that. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I think that is
That's
an
part of
impression
it.
I'm getting from teachers.
That's part of it.
The difficult part with the AP exams is AP exams didn't go away. So they're sort of on a timeline. Now, I've heard some advanced teachers say, I'm going to slow it down a little bit, but our teachers who have a test tied to it with the AP have their scope and sequence very
They need to
strategically
cover the
placed.
content in order to make sure that the kids have all the content they need for the test, for those that are going to take the test. But yeah, I think a lot of it is they have not been in school for so long that they're having a rough time settling back in.
If you have not been looking at your parent portal, do that, and you can keep abreast of how your students are performing. Everyone should have, if you didn't previously use parent portal, you should have this year, because our registration process is there this year. So if you haven't done that, make sure you log in. All that paperwork that you typically get at the beginning of the school year, where you have to fill out the same information you do every year and sign the yeses and the nos to everything from I can go on field trips and appear in pictures to no corporal punishment, please. All of those things are now through the parent portal. So if you haven't gotten in to do that, please do. When you log in, it should be the first thing, if you haven't done it, that pops up and says, hey, your registration's not complete. But once you're in there, you can set your alerts and you can stay on top of grades that are coming in. But ideally, talk to your kids about what's coming up each week. And if they are able to tell you, then they are on top of it. If they are not, then that should be a point you press with them. Let's talk about how you're organizing. If you don't know what's coming up, you should, because their teachers are giving them, the teachers are having to prepare it in advance and share it with them digitally, so they should have an idea of what's coming up. We've had good questions. Anything else?
October 30th is the deadline. And again, we'll have a couple of days there before, yeah.
Well, if there's nothing else, I thank you guys for coming. You can always email the teachers if you have any further questions, Mrs. Jones, or you may email me as well.
Yeah, email me or call me, either way.
And we'll say goodnight. Thank you.